So here's what I'm currently spinning. This is raw alpaca fleece, gifted to me by someone who it was given to them, passed down, and it was in their shed. They wanted to get rid of it. I believe their daughter was going to do something with it and never used it. So they were happy to give it to someone who actually knew what to do with it. She, I don't know what she was going to do with it. I don't even know if she knows how to spin or what, but anyway, there was many bags of this. I've had this for several years and I just sort of chip away at it a little at a time. I love that it's local. The only thing I know about it is it came from someone with hobby alpacas. Looking at some of the staples, because obviously it wasn't skirted, I had to go through it myself. I doubt they were shorn very often. But again, I don't own alpacas, I don't know for certain. But the staples on these are really delicious. I feel like winning, right? Really nice long staple, and it's very soft. So the $1,000,000 question, if you want to start processing and spinning alpaca from raw, do I have to wash it first? So the general consensus is no, you don't have to. Emphasis on you don't have to. If you want to wash it, absolutely go ahead. And this is where discernment comes in, because I see a lot of arguments about this online. Well, you should wash it. It's too dusty. It's this, it's gross. It depends on the fiber. And I can tell you from this particular batch, which I'm sure came from more than one alpaca, some of it was really dirty and some of it was fine. This stuff here is fairly clean. So I'm not going to wash this. Time is of the essence for me. This yarn's going to be soaked anyway after it's done. So I don't want to wash it and then wash it again when washing it after it's spun is going to take out any of the little bit of dust and dirt that will be in here. Alpaca does not make an oily residue like lanolin like you see with sheep. And people do like to spin in the grease. So you can't even say you need to wash sheep wool before you spin it either, because that's not true. If you like to spin in the grease, go for it. This here, it might have some dust. It will have a bit of vegetable matter in it. If you were going to buy one of these fleece, that's what I would look for. Put your hands in, take a look. If there's a lot of muddy pieces or a lot of VM, I wouldn't waste your time. Now, I have been the savior of the dirty fleece. I paid next to nothing, like, $20 for the huge bag of alpaca fleece from the Fiber Festival. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to pick through, get the poo out, the mud out, and all the dirty pieces, the long staple, the second cuts. Here's an example, if you can see, of a second cut. It's just where the shear went over twice and it gets these little stubby, and there's nothing to this. You can't spin this, right? You have to cut those, cut them out, pull them out. So if you want to do it, go for it, but expect a lot of work, and you might have very little return for your $20 because some of it could be not salvageable and not usable. But if you wanted to wash your alpaca fiber before you spin it, you don't need a scouring agent. You don't need a power scour. You don't need Dawn even, because there's no oils to take out of this. And in fact, if you wash this with Dawn, you're probably going to find you're going to be rinsing a lot. And again, like I said, time is of the essence. So if there was a bit of this that was really, really dirty, I put it in a basin with some hot water, and what I get is baby shampoo from the dollar store, and that's what I use. Give it a soak. If you've watched my other video on processing fiber, I don't have time to watch stuff, so I'll put it in, let it sit there for a day or so, then rinse it. And if it needs another soaking, I'd go again. It really depends. If you rinse, soak a second time, and the water is kind of like brownish, okay, there's still some more dirt, then you're going to wash it again. But most of the time it doesn't need it. A little bit of baby shampoo and a soaking with some hot water. It's usually good to go. So again, time is of the essence for me. This is a beautiful, gorgeous color. It's like a creamy white color. And very little VM. It does feel a little dirty, dusty. But listen, like, I'm going to spin this, I'm going to soak my yarn anyway when it's done. I don't see a reason to wash it twice, so I don't. And this particular stuff here, because it doesn't have a lot of VM, I'm just going to spin this as is. I would, if I see a ton of vegetable matter in here, I'm going to run it through my hackles or a set of combs. I like using hackles because I can do a lot at one time. If you don't know what hackles is, they kind of look like a bunch of nails sticking out of a thing about yay big, and then you just rake your fiber in it. I use it for blending sometimes too, when I don't want to use the drum card and I want to do more. It's like blocks, chunkier blocks of blending. It's where the drum card is going to give you a nice smooth blend. It's a really versatile tool, and it's not expensive. I've even seen people make them out of wooden nails if you feel so inclined. I recommend them. Combs are nice too, but again, combing takes a while and it's really, really hard on my shoulder. I have a bad shoulder. So that's normally what I will do. Once I get a few skeins of this spun, I'll decide from there whether I want to dye it or not, or leave it as natural color. So planning on doing a 3-ply out of this, just a conventional 3-ply. I'm just going to probably take my e-spinner because I can go really quick, and they've got very big bobbins, and do 3 bobbins full, and then take it over to my Spinolution wheel that has a larger bobbin, and apply it from there. I'm going to go head over to the wheel, and then we'll see exactly how I spin this. But typically, if you've got alpaca, I find it tends to be long stapled. I do have some what's a baby alpaca, people? I don't even know what it's called, but the baby alpaca, it's really lovely to spin. It tends to not be as long as this, but my favorite way to spin this is from the fold. So much like spinning like a silk, I'll just kind of sort of line up the fibers, fold it over my hand, and just pinch from here. And especially if you want to spin a thinner ply for your yarn, that's what I would recommend doing it. Is it proper? Is it the way you're supposed to spin? I don't know. I spin things the way that I feel is proper for me, and what makes me happy, and what gets me the results I want. And if I could impress anything on this video, is that you don't need to listen to what people say. Do what makes sense for you. And as spinners, I can't emphasize more that you need to have discernment as to what your fiber needs to get the desired result that you want. Who cares what anybody else says? And a lot of times that's trial and error. After a while, after you've been touching different kinds of fibers, you'll get a feel for what it is that you will need to do for each before you get the result you want in your yarn. You got to get in there and get your hands dirty and enjoy the process. So that's my tip for today. So to show you what I do, again, this is not washed. You can spin it this way, right just at the tip. That would be completely acceptable. And I'm doing a 3-ply, so I want this fairly thin, but not thin. Okay, this is completely acceptable if you just want to take a hunk of it and just start spinning it. Much like when you break off a piece of a bat, it would be the same sort of idea. No problem. How I do like to do this, a little too much here, is get the fibers lined up as well, as best as possible in the same direction. Fold it over my finger and spin it from the fold. So we're just going to pinch and pull up, and you see it's coming from 2 different areas. I don't know if you can see that on the video, but I find it just is less lumpy bumpy. You get a really nice smooth singles this way, and it just feels so orderly, like everything is going in the right direction. Now I'm just going to stop here for a minute. I'm coming up to some vegetable matter here. This one wasn't very dirty, which made me very happy. I've washed, let me tell you, I have spun some really dirty alpaca fleeces in the years. So you have 2 choices. If I have any big pieces like this, I'll just flick it out. I'll just flick it on the floor, and I will just sweep after I'm done. Same with any dust that might come out of this because it hasn't been washed. Flick it out. If it's small enough, sometimes I'll just let it go, and I find somewhere in the process of spinning, either while I'm spinning here or when it plies, it will flick out. So I wouldn't worry so much about it if it's a little bit of VM. I'm going slower than I normally would, just so you can get a good look at the process. And there's a piece of VM there. I'm just not even going to touch it. It's going to flick right out on its own here. And off it went. So in a nutshell, that is how I spin alpaca fiber from raw. If you've been wanting to try it and were curious, go for it. Get yourself some. You won't regret it. Alpaca is one of my favorite fibers, not only to spin, but to knit and crochet with. It's very versatile. It's nice and soft. The colors are amazing, even if you don't want to dye it. I have done a black fiber that I got from the New Hampshire wool show. It was amazing. I miss it, actually. I'd love to have some more of it. It was wonderful. I made a few sweaters out of it. And like this one's a nice cream color. I've also had a really gorgeous white as well. So if you're looking for a fiber that you don't even need to dye, alpaca is the one you should go for. It's very beginner friendly fiber as well, especially if you're looking to process something. But sheep wool scares you because it can be quite dirty with the lanolin and all the other things. But yeah, I would say give it a go. And again, if you're going to a wool show to pick one out, open the bag, take a look at it, make sure it doesn't have too much vegetable matter, make sure there's not too much mud or dust. And if you want to purchase it and it has all those things, just make sure the price is right. We'll see you next time.